Okay, here's another stoichiometry problem. In a previous video, I used this equation. It's actually called the Haber process, where you take nitrogen and hydrogen and form ammonia. And in this example, or in the last one, we were trying to figure out how much of a reactant was needed for a certain amount of product. The thing about stoichiometry is you could use any part of that equation to find another part of the equation. It doesn't just have to be the reactants or the products. It could be a couple of products. It could be a reactant and a product. In this case, in this question, I have how many grams of nitrogen will completely react with 15 grams of hydrogen? Okay, so remember the first step of stoichiometry is that you need to balance the equation. And we've already done that up here. Excuse me. So we've already done that part. So we'll start with where it has our given amount, which is 15 grams of hydrogen. So I'm going to start with 15 grams of hydrogen, and I want to figure out how many grams of nitrogen will completely react. So since I've already balanced that equation, my next step is that I'm going to convert grams of hydrogen to moles of hydrogen. So I put grams on bottom and moles on top. And I know that 1 mole of hydrogen, and I should write out this H2, 1 mole of hydrogen, if I look at my periodic table, 1 mole of hydrogen atom is 1 gram, but this form of hydrogen is the diatomic form. So in 1 mole, there's 2 grams. So 1 mole, this is 2 grams. That's how I convert to moles of hydrogen. My grams cancel out. I'm left with moles. My next step of stoichiometry is to then convert mole of H2. And my question is about grams of nitrogen. So I'm going to convert that to first go to moles of nitrogen, because where I can compare hydrogen to nitrogen is with the mole amount. So I'm going to use the mole ratio at this point. And the mole ratio, if you remember, I get from the balanced equation. And 1 mole of nitrogen reacts with 3 moles of hydrogen. So my 1 goes with the nitrogen and my 3 goes with the hydrogen. So then my moles of hydrogen is canceled out, and I'm left with moles of N2. So then I'm going to then set up another conversion. In this case, I want to get rid of moles of nitrogen and go to grams of nitrogen. And I can look on the periodic table to tell me how many grams there are in 1 mole of nitrogen. And I see that atomic nitrogen is 14 grams per mole. But in this version, there's actually 2 atoms in the molecular nitrogen. So I take 14 times 2, which is 28 grams. And I'm going to then solve for this. I take all of my top, multiply it together, all of my bottom, multiply it together, and then divide the top by the bottom. So when I multiply all this, the top together and the bottom together, I get a total answer of 70 grams, and that's grams of N2. So to answer this question, how many grams of nitrogen gas will completely react with 15 grams of hydrogen? The answer is 70 grams. 70 grams will completely react with this 15 grams.